Welcome to Blue Talks.
The body is such an interesting tool. Can you not agree? We just have this soul that's an energetic body, but it's housed in a physical experience. And the physical experience is what we live. It interprets information for us. It brings that information to the filing cabinets of our mind with our past experiences to help us determine what we need to do next in life. So today, my talk is going to be about revealing the wisdom of the body and our emotions with it. So, show of hands here. How many of you have ever experienced pain in your body? Right? Easy question. Easy question. Did you know that over half of the American population suffers with pain? Chronic pain. And about 2 out of 5 people, what do you think is the most common what do you think is the most common pain? Back pain. 2 of 5 adult Americans suffer with chronic back pain. So let me ask you this. How many of you here took your pain to the next level and decided to go for a massage treatment to alleviate it? Perfect. So massage therapy is one of the most sought out treatments to alleviate pain. So you made a great choice. So the next question is, who here absolutely loved their treatment and felt superb after? Pain was gone. However, the pain then came back. Right? Why does this happen? Let's get curious about this. I'll tell you a little bit of my own personal story. So this is me back in 2012. I was with my son. He was 18 months. I was pregnant with my daughter. And the pregnancy itself was very high risk. So aside from knowing it was high risk, I was admitted to the hospital 15 days before I had her. It was around Christmas time, so the doctors were like, okay, Suzy, when do you want to have this baby? And I'm like, well, Boxing Day, people are still on vacation, so maybe the day after. So she was born on December 27th. And there were a couple of different surgeries that had to happen before I actually had the C-section. And my life was in somebody else's hands. It was in the life of anesthetists. It was in the life of my OB. It was in the life of my general doctor. And I kind of just had to let it go and just trust that everything was going to be okay. So what happened was, there was a bunch of different surgeries that had to be done. So the best plan of action was to put me under general anesthetic. So you can see in the middle picture here, I have a couple of Band-Aids on my neck. And so they had to put a main line in my jugular vein to keep me under for the duration of my surgery. My husband wasn't allowed in the OR. I was basically in a room with 14 other doctors. Respiratory techs, the whole 9 yards for my daughter, and then my own team for myself. So it's quite the experience. Nothing I ever expected in my mind to unfold. However, this became my story to my chronic neck pain. It was the story that I had to write on every intake form when I sought out healthcare professionals to help me, physiotherapists, other massage therapists, acupuncturists, chiropractors. I was giving my life constantly in somebody else's hands to help my body and my pain. And every time I wrote under the little section on every intake form that says, list your surgeries or injuries in the past 5 years, this was my story. I lived it. I relived it every time every health professional asked me. Every time a health professional said, that neck is really tight. Well, yeah, I had this surgery. And then I relived it and recreated it over and over and over again. So this became my story. And not only this, it was also laced with being a student, face down, like in my books, texting. It was also laced with snowboarding accidents, whiplash, car accidents, grinding my teeth at night, clenching. It had a whole story on its own. And what I did was constantly validate it in the physical way. I was treating a physical pain with physical modalities and only seeing it through that lens. Until I saw another acupuncturist. And this acupuncturist is now one of my really good friends. And she worked on not only the physical body, but I showed up at her clinic and I was like, I'm not writing anything on that intake form. She's gonna figure me out. And it probably took 2 appointments, one dealing with one thing, and you guys are gonna learn that after, and another appointment dealing with another thing that then led me to be completely pain-free. And it's not like the pain disappears. It's going to be there. I just have a different interpretation of how it shows up. So this led me to really learn about the body on a deeper level because she was working with me on the emotional body. And with acupuncture, as you know, or maybe you don't know, maybe this is brand new information, it's working along traditional Chinese medicine meridians that are like basically highways in the body that relay information from the organs to the outer layer of like the muscles into our brain to interpret, to then put pain somewhere in our body. So everybody's body is different. Pain is going to show up differently in everyone's life. So over years, with Reveal Wellness as being my business, I developed what I call the body trust method. And so the body trust method has 4 different phases. And I like to call them phases. They're not steps where you have to complete one step to get to the next. They all kind of bleed into each other. And it's a circular movement and motion because in every portion of this, we're building a certain type of awareness. And when you tap into that awareness, then you know how to use your body as a tool that's going to relay information for you just to keep you safe. So this is the first phase. So what I'd like you to envision, or just imagine, is that your body is like this human antenna. This human antenna that can take in information from its surroundings, from its environment. And then what happens is that this information just gets relayed to your brain and then it's got to process it in some way, shape, or form to keep you safe. So establishing trust and safety. Who here has ever been for massage therapy treatment? Their practitioner asks them, what can I help you with? What hurts today? Yeah. How many people were just told to be like, okay, you know what we need to do for you? Let's get you on the table. Right? Consider the fact that when you get on the table, 4 out of your 5 senses are compromised, which leaves only your sense of touch to be available. When 4 out of your 5 senses are blocked, your nervous system is going to be in fight or flight. Compound that with your past experience of what it feels like to be in a dark room with a stranger with no clothes on, in between sheets. Your mind has already created the story that I get to relax. This is relaxing. However, as a practitioner who's very empathic, picks up somebody who's been in survival mode their whole life, and now this person wants deep tissue? Why do they need to feel pain to feel better in their body? Why do I need to initiate that fight or flight response in order for someone's body to feel better? So I really started to deeply dive into this because this is the way the world functions right now. No pain, no gain, right? But there's a sensitivity in the body that is kind of difficult to tap into, because if we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, for some reason, it's like we're weak. We don't want other people to see that side of us, but it's that side we tap into that is so strong, that has the capacity to heal the body. So phase 2, this is where the magic happens. I love it. I love reading the energy of people's bodies. Like I said, when you're on the table and 4 out of your 5 senses are compromised, and you have the intention of going for a massage therapy treatment, and your body's telling me something different, and I'm like, okay, great, you want deep tissue, your body's bouncing me off, not even wanting a massage, so how am I going to relay this information to you? This is really what involves your story and what you've been telling your body. Phase 3 is implementation and integration. The treatment is a treatment. The process and how you integrate and implement the information and the tools that are given to you throughout the massage is just as important. Who here has had a massage therapy treatment and went grocery shopping because they had to cook a meal for their family after? Right? It's a complete interruption of what you just received. And phase 4 is the power of community. I really like to bring this in because this is where we get to practice gratitude for others, listen to other people's stories, just how we were doing over the past couple of days. And also, it helps us really identify certain triggers, maybe judgments about ourselves, and activates really deeper way of listening to other people. And when you can resonate with someone's story and say, like, I get you, that happened to me, there's a different type of healing that comes out with that as well. So I want to go back to this slide, reveal and unfold. This is where the magic happens. And this is where I'm going to try and shift your perception of how pain shows up in your body, because we all have a story as to why that pain is there. Maybe you decided to take 5 grocery bags all into the house at one time because you just didn't want to take that one trip. And all of a sudden your neck hurts. And then that's the story you bring to your massage therapist. So think about your pain. Every part of your body has a certain type of functionality to it. So we're going to dive into this one a little bit more. So neck and shoulders. Who here has suffered from neck and shoulder pain, right? Majority of the population. Okay, so here's a different way to kind of take a look at it. We are built so strangely. I'm like, why do we have this peg-like thing that holds a bowling ball of a head that allows us to move, right? But think about our necks in a way where it's like that structure that helps us change and shift our gaze from one place to the next. So if we are switching up something in our lives, it's like, if my neck becomes stiff because of that, is my body safe for me to make that mindset shift? We all talk about mindset. It starts in the mind, right? But how about if we shift that perception and be like, does my body feel safe enough to make that change? And if it doesn't, how is it holding me back to actually move it forward? What I really needed to heal with my neck pain was abandonment and grief. Now, what I didn't tell you was that at the time that this pain was amplified, even though I felt I was dealing with it for several years, was also the time that I wanted to own a clinic. And nothing was happening for me. I went through many deals of looking for commercial space. That wasn't happening. I had all my ducks in a row. And I was like, is something being manifested outside of my control? Because this should not be this hard, especially if it's something that is right for me. and it wasn't. So through 2 appointments, abandonment and grief showed up. And these are 2 really big, deep buckets of emotion. And what I also like to say too is just like, grief doesn't necessarily have to deal with the loss of a loved one. Grief is turning over a new leaf and saying like, thank you so much for my past self, for all the lessons that I've learned, but I'm ready to create this new version of me. So what I needed to work on to get my business going was actually letting go of who I was. My mom hat, whatever personality I was, to kind of launch myself into this new version of me. You know how fast this happened for me? 1 week I lost my job at a clinic. The same week, within 24 hours, I was signing a 2-year lease for my business. It all happened within 24 hours. That's how fast and easy things can happen when alignment also happens. Now, low back and hips. Low back and hips. Think about that area. It's supporting your lower body to your upper body. So when it starts to speak up, how are you not being able to receive support? With hips, it's basically like a directional thing. You need your hips to kind of pivot another way. So if my hips hurt, why is my body trying to keep me safe from taking that next move? I have an Indigenous elder that comes to me for massage treatments. It's part of how the community supports her. And being an Indigenous elder in Alberta, she has a lot of history with residential school systems, lots. And she knows in her body, she made the decision, I want to go for a massage. I want to get treated. And I want to feel like a queen, right? So her intake form was like, everything hurts. Have you ever done that? Filled out an intake form, there's a body chart, and you just circle the whole down thing? I know I've done it. So I was like, okay, this is going to be a challenge, because I got to figure out which areas of the body are speaking up really loud, and how can I resource certain parts of the body that just don't have a voice to say anything, to strengthen those, so then we can turn down the volume on the pain that's speaking up really loudly. It took about 3 appointments for her to really start telling her story. And the first 3 appointments, even though her body was ready to receive, it's always been infused back to establishing trust and safety in order to get there. So over the past 3 months, her pain is now dialed into her hips. And with the support in being able to kind of coach her through her process, she's also been able to find a voice that she's never had before. It was always something that was determined for her. So now she's questioning all the medications that she's on. She's also questioning and actually moving forward to get a bullet out of her hip that's been lodged there for over 30 years. And these are things that she never knew she could do. But now she knows through working with her body and working with me that she has choice. And it was a foreign thing to her. Headaches. Who here has suffered from headaches? Headaches are wonderful. When you can dial in exactly when it starts and what you are doing in your life that makes you feel so pressured that you have to perform as somebody else other than just you. How many clients do I have that have to put either the white lab coat on because they're going in for surgery, or they got to show up as somebody completely different other than them? So they have to pressure themselves into performing. This is really common, and it kind of stems from that pressure of the performance that you had to get on the piano and get all that recital stuff right. That is embedded and imprinted in all the cells. So when you have to perform, and you have to function from here, this is what's speaking up really loud. So whenever I'm working with headaches, I take a look and I listen to, how are you describing that, right? Oh, it feels like a lot of pressure. Well, what are you pressuring yourself in your life that you need to do? It's pounding. Well, what are you pounding yourself through your life that you need to do? Do you think you need to just overthink everything to just make it and survive? How are you performing outside of yourself? And do you even know who you really are? Upper back pain. This one's a really common one too, because I find that this is what I suffered from along with neck and shoulders. And so this is what I attract into my practice. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, upper back pain. I love this. So upper back, when you think about the organs that are behind that area, lungs and heart. Your heart basically has your passions, your desires, your longings of how you want to live your life. And your lungs is basically the house of grief. So I had a client who suffered from upper back pain for 10 years. And I was like, interesting. When do you feel the pain? Oh, when I extend my arms. Oh, interesting. So how do you overextend yourself? And what happened 10 years ago where you had to overextend yourself? She was the caregiver for her caregiver. When her mom passed, she was the one that took control over the whole funeral and everything like that. And that pain was embedded in her upper back. So there you go. There's a whole side of this that allows you to kind of just be curious about the body. You have choice in what you're telling yourself. And what you really just need to do is realize that you're just more than the physical body. You have your emotional, you have your mental, you have an energetic, and you have a spiritual body. So what our bodies want us to do is to just listen to it in a different way. Maybe what you've been trying before is not working, but there's so much more of a sustainable way to listen to it. And when you start to listen to it and ask it what it wants and say, hey body, what do you need today? And then move along with it, you build so much trust with it that then pain becomes something that is a stimulus. And you can choose either to react to it or you can respond accordingly and build trust with it. And that is everything. Thank you so much.